Good morning, everybody. I'm going to get started. Welcome to week 6. Happy Monday to everyone. I can't believe we are in week 6. The first 5 weeks have gone very fast. I hope your semester is going well. We are going to be continuing to talk about visualization today. And if you wanted a reminder what we did, or we started this topic last week on Wednesday, and we had our first lecture on it, talking in terms of principles to go about data visualization. There were a few things towards the end that I didn't get a chance to finish, but we had set our course in a way for what data visualization would be. And on Friday, we had a guest lecture by Offer, and I think it went very well, except the audio was breaking up quite every now and then, but otherwise I think it went well. And so I want to pick up from where we left, and we are going to use today, and we are going to use Wednesday to finish the kind of things I want to talk about visualization in general. It's a big topic. There are very many exciting things that you can do. This is one of the things that as a data scientist, you would be useful to have a good skill on. And in some ways, it is almost inevitable that you'll have to make use of these, even though it was not set in the context of data science, in what you do in your classes, in what you do in your research, and in what you would do in your profession in general. And so I'm going to pick up this one, and so we can call this one part 2. And the topic today has to do with color and design. And this is, for some people, a field on its own and then a big one. And it is tied with Tableau. And that's the reason why you see this slide the way it is now. And I'm going to, I haven't forgotten, and we are a full house now. We are 55 of us already. And so some people may join. The warm-up question for the day is going to be extremely simple. I just want to know what your favorite color is. So what's your favorite color? That's the question of the day. And the person to type today's question, warm-up question for others to see, would be, I'll go with Ailey today. She had done once before, but I'm going to go again with her. So when you are ready, write the question. What is your favorite color? No explanation, just tell me what your favorite color is. And we're going to repeat, Ailey, you're going to repeat this question one more time for those who might join later on. The warm-up question we had last time had to ask you where you grew up. And I had kind of a loose definition what I mean by grew up, but you have participated. And I said we would map it. I have an even better idea. I talked to Offer, and so it's going to be turned into an assignment, a part of. So the 4th assignment will contain some things, and it will be fun. And one of the questions would actually be for everybody to get a chance to do this themselves. And we'll have a better solution. Somebody who would do this really, really in a good way would be something that we would share. But I wanted to make it part of an exercise. And so the visualization topic, it's going to be many things that we would cover, but I don't want it to be missed. And therefore, I would like to use a chance for you to do that yourself. And there will be other things that would come. That will be assignment 4, and it will come soon. You have all successfully submitted your assignment 3, and it will be graded, and you will hear back. And an assignment 2 grading, I think, from what I have heard from Helen, has gone well. I'm not sure if you have heard back from her, but that's where we are headed. This week is going to be a week where we will complete the discussion on data visualization. I've told you what my plan is for today. What my plan is for Wednesday is going to be whatever is left. And so leftover topics on data visualization and some resources I want you to know is what I will cover. Friday's lecture will be devoted to telling you what semester project setup is. And that is going to be important. So by now you have had many ideas come to your mind, I'm sure, and things that you would want to do. And there will be time when I would tell you what ideas I have. So Friday's lecture will be the setup for semester projects. And so the machine learning topic will be what we will be jumping on after we finish this one. And I think things have worked out well in terms of timing for those series of topics to come starting from next week. That's where we're going to be doing. Data visualization is our topic today. The question of the day is, what's your favorite color? And the slides for these ones are already posted, but I will make some additional material maybe available after we are done today. All right, we're going to get started now. And let me see if anybody has got anything to. How did you think the offers lecture last week go? Can I just get some 3 or 4 people to say something? Did it go well? I need a favorite. It went well. Thanks, Kobe. And I need a couple more. A couple, one person. It went well is one I have. So that's unanimous, it sounds like. I really liked it. That's perfect. Yeah, okay. So I think I'm very happy with how the 2 guest lectures went, and they fall right into what we wanted to do. They were by design, but they were very good speakers. And in fact, in some ways, if you've noticed the team that I'm picking, Stephanie's presentation also had some data visualization things. So they are related. One thing I would like you to think about in both of those presentations is generate ideas for projects. And so they would be related. And offer had a lot of things that I think would make up for a semester project later on. All right, let me go with, yeah, the demo parts were great. Except for the audio, I think he did a great job, and he's a good colleague of mine. And I think there will be some really good projects that could come that you would be interested in, some of you at least, be interested in doing. Okay, first I have to tell you, if you've seen this slide, it looks the design a little bit different and things like that. So I want to acknowledge where the inspiration for these slides is coming from, the source for it. And this is a person who has written a book called I'm going to show you, the Big Book of Dashboards. It looks like this. It's this thick. And I've got a few. Last time, if you remember, I told you about how messy or tidy your desk is. Mine is tidy in terms of organization, but lots of things on it. And I've got a bunch of books here, and 3 or 4 of them are about data science. And I've got this book, and I've got another book called Visualize This, which I have maybe listed in one of the syllabus, the things that you kind of reference books. I will probably point you to some things from that book, but this big book of dashboards is done together with Tableau, and there is a person who is a vice president for a company called Unifund that kind of teaches data visualization in a big way, well, in some ways that is more about marketing and things like that. So these slides are adopted from there and kind of used as an inspiration for the kind of things I want to discuss. So I have these 4 goals for today, and I hopefully will be able to accomplish all of them. We will learn how to use color in data visualization. You have used colors, but there is a visualization, basics that you need to know to use them effectively. And when they are used effectively, they enhance things. You know this for sure, but you will be surprised by how much you can achieve by having a deliberate use of colors and avoiding things that are not right, just like what we did with Sept principle last time when we discussed data visualization in general. I want to talk about something that might be a surprise to very many of you, something about people's deficiency in seeing color vision deficiency, and the science of it a little bit, and what you can do to avoid having to torture people like that and have data visualizations that are friendlier to them. And I want to talk a little bit about this book, as I just showed you, the big one, and it has a very funny name, the big, let's see again, the big book of dashboards. The entire book is about dashboards, and you have probably noticed by now, and if you have ever, and I know most of you have driven cars, you know what the dashboard literally means in a car, how much information is there and how much people would think about how to organize it. Much like that for marketing, for business, for universities, when they design their websites and things like that. All of these things have a reason for having good dashboard design, and I want you to know 101 of it, the things that you need to know. And they will be useful, in fact, for some of the things that you might not have thought about. For example, if you are going to have a poster somewhere, it might be a good idea to have some of these dashboard design things in your mind. These are our goals. These are the 4 things I want to accomplish today. And so stay with me. If you have not had your coffee, make sure that you have it, and stay alert with me and participate in discussions. And I will watch, the chat session every now and then. Of course, I will look at your favorite colors and tell you what they were, but I will, watch out there. So if you have anything to ask, you make sure that you you do it there. Okay, let's get started. Use of color in data visualization. That's our first part, and this is probably a good place to start. And as I have told you, the Tableau. Let me stop for a second and maybe here ask you. I knew you know that Tableau is available now. So in Blackboard, I have told you that's the place to download, and the class has a free student license. Can I get quickly? People would say Tableau, I have downloaded or explored, not yet. That type of answer. So let me quickly see. So the question is, have you downloaded Tableau and have started playing with it? And you could say not yet, or you could say yes. Let me see a few. I see. Okay, keep doing. Yeah, we'll give you 30 seconds. Okay. All right. So I have an idea. So you, most of you have not. I would encourage you to use. This is free and for us, and so it is good. And it's one more tool that you would want to know. And so many of the discussions here are not necessarily about Tableau, but it will be good to know that, and for some of you, it might actually be something that you would consider when you work on your projects. I don't have any intention of using Tableau as a big thing and make it part of this course, but you have access to it, and you might just as well use it. So this is designed by Tableau, and the point that one is trying, I'm trying to make here is how color could be used effectively. In this case, this is something about what if analysis, some scenario analysis, and the thing that is being analyzed here is minimum wage. And so whenever there is something below a certain value, you want to emphasize that fact. And so by a very simple choice of color, and you will start to appreciate this as the discussion goes on now, by having to use a color for it, and this in case a blue color, and that would separate it from the rest of the data, which is just in gray, that gets magnified and it comes out. So the use of a color in a very simple, effective way is to highlight something like this. I want to spend a little bit of time telling you about this slide that you are seeing now. You see two things. There is one thing on the left and there is another thing on the right. It is very likely that you might have encountered this someday when you were browsing. And it's also possible that you're seeing this for the first time. First of all, the story is a bit old. So this is about how how things were during the Iraq war, right? And data visualization is aware one wants to be careful about having not to deceive people or mislead people or be cautious about what you are trying to convey. This is a visualization of data. And we have learned that the way you want to say about it, we have learned a few things, and we have seen very many examples of how you could effectively portray your data and not lie and things like that. But once you are in a position, you could be a journalist, you're not, I know, but you have a message to send, the context in which you set your visualization is going to drive the message. This particular visualization is surprisingly so strikingly different for what you see on the left and what you see on the right, but the changes that are made to make these drastic changes in meaning are so minimal. So the original one, and there is a video associated with this that you will get to see later on when I post. What I will do is I will post these slides in PowerPoint so that there is some notes or something like that I wrote on each of the slides at the bottom that you can go back to. And so for this one, you don't need to do now, but when I post it, you can see. And so there is a little 4-minute video for the person who produced this, the person who actually changed this to make this point narrates. And so this is about the Iraq toll, and what you see here is days toll, and the numbers around it. The picture on the left was the original one. The person who did this was trying to excite emotion, and that the color is red, and so immediately it evokes the notion of blood. And so you see there is something that's really, it calls your attention, and you wanted to the message is already done by the title and by how the plots are shown. What you see on the right is exact same visualization turned upside down. the title is changed from saying the Iraq's bloody toll to show, that there is a decline in how days were, and this is what the horizontal axis here is time, and so there is some more information about the size of these bubbles, as you can see, some geography and things like that. But these are the three changes. The title is changed, the graph is upside down, and the color is changed from red to blue. The rest of the information, what this data is showing you, is exactly the same. In fact, it is portraying exactly the same thing, except for these three changes. Now you can see, you can tell for yourself what story the thing on the left tells and what story the thing on the right tells. This is the place where visualization is also art, and Ofer was trying to make those points in his presentation last time, and this is probably a vivid example and a very concrete one and a very powerful one to tell you what message you're trying to say. In the first case, somebody was trying to draw attention to the loss of life and blood and things like that. In the second case, one is trying to drive home the fact that there is a decline in days. So that is the point I wanted to make. Because our topic is colors, and we have started talking about it now, I want to kind of tell you how meaningfully to use color. It's very easy to add color for just decoration, the way we think of them, and sometimes they are not effective. And so what kind of colors are good to use in what situations is the point that's this slide is trying to make. I remember there was one linear algebra person long time ago, and I remember seeing, and you guys probably are too young, but there was a time when people would have transparencies, so they would write things on the transparencies as they are called, and so you have a projector and things get displayed, and that's how you would follow along. There was no PowerPoint or things like that, and it's not unusual in those days for people to do this type of thing. And so there was this great linear algebra person, computational things and things like that, and he would use the slides, these transparencies, and I remember he had 12 or so markers on his hand, and he would use colors. And so they were fun. He's good at them, but they were always like what the title here shows you. Every letter is more like another color and things like that. And it was fun, but I also entertained, but at the same time, some of these other things that would follow and the colors that he was using for the writing would not kind of match, and I get sometimes distracted by that. So know that colors are effective when they are used intentionally, and having to have a little bit of an understanding when to use them. What you see here on the left is colors that are used to, they're called earth tone, and so cool colors, and the ones that you see on the right are things that are meant to draw attention and to be a little bit alarming in some ways. And so you have a range of choices, and some things that this is also a matter of taste to some degree. And so you see on the left things of that nature, and things on the right that are warmer and are meant to draw attention, unnerving, or something that would be unusual and you want to draw attention out of it. This is a place where I want to show you for how color is used in combination with what data type you have for it to be effective. And so there are different categories of color use depending on what kind of data you are trying to show. The first one is called sequential. This is the color that's ordered from low to high. You have seen this type of thing in many cases, including in things that look like a heat map, where you have a range of values that are sequential. So as you go from low to high, you have an increasing intensity in colors. That is called sequential, and we'll see a couple of examples as I go through this one. The second one is called diverging, and this is a time when you would use whenever you have something that you could call is a midpoint, a neutral value, and then you've got something, south of it to mean negative and north of it to mean positive, and you've got contrasts between the two that you can show. That's called a diverging color. You have, and this happens all the time when you have categorical values or variables that are just classes. There isn't anything that is continuous about them. There isn't anything that is negative and positive and mild in between. It's just different things. I've got apple, I've got houses, I've got orange, I've got cup, and I've got bottle, and these are entirely different things. And so you would use categorical values. There are times when you want to highlight something, and so just the first example, the scenario analysis, when you have minimum wage, there was one thing that we wanted to draw attention to highlight, and we would use this. And especially this sort of thing is important when you have many things, and so you want to draw attention to one of them. And there are times when you want to draw attention because there is an alert, something bad has happened, so a warning and that type of thing. And at least in the West culture, raid is used for that. I'm sure my Chinese friends would associate raid with something else. It's not necessarily an alert. Here is a place also when you need to pay attention to culture if you happen to be using this one in different contexts. I'm going to go through this. I've talked about them, but we're going to see some examples as I go through this. Sequential color. Here is one example, and the idea here is that you have something that continues, and so there was something bluish in the example, the outline slide that we saw now, and now we have something brownish. But whenever the value is increasing, you've got increasing intensity of color. And usually these sort of things have, I think most of the time, either with a map or some other, physical, something that is dimensional that you wanted to convey at the same time, not just the values, but also how they are distributed. In this particular case, an employment rate, and this is all actual data. And every time this is a slide, when you see in the bottom, there is something written, source the big book of dashboards. That's the book I showed you here. And they have, promote, of course. And so this is figure 117 in there, unemployment rate. And you can see a clear trend and when things are high and when things are low. And so you could see this is an example of a sequential color. Diverging color. Here is a place where we have something neutral, south of it, negative, north of it, positive, something mild and something high and low, and things like that. In this case, this is profit, and profit as in companies. So there's a certain company or a certain industry that is being shown here. And so you can see how this is effectively displayed. And here is a place where you also want to pay attention, not only to the contrast between the two diverging things that you are trying to show here. In this case, one of the end represented with orangish, reddish color, and the other one with a blue. You don't just want to show the contrast and the neutral color in between. You also want to make the things as different from each other as possible. It's not enough for the colors to be distinct, but also in some ways, and we'll come to a place where we will make this one a little more scientific, that they are different spectrums, different endpoints in a way. That image should come out clearly. This is a use for diverging color, and we have stayed in our illustrations here within this notion of using it on a map, which is an effective one. Here is my example of categorical color, and there are several things to watch here, and you will, because I have posted this one, so you will be taking notes if you like to take notes as you walk through these examples. I think most of these slides are very good in terms of giving you concrete examples to see. So there are many things to learn around this one, just because by looking at this. First, there is an effective use of colors to show categories. So I immediately now see that there are 3 categories this display is dealing with. And this one happens to be about furniture and office supplies and technology. These are in some store or something like that, whatever it is that they have, they are dividing them into 3 categories. That comes out very quickly. And the colors are distinct from each other. They are pleasant to see and they're light. And they would also go back to this down. If you remember the optimization we talked about the ink ratio, the color choice here also is consistent with something like that. Okay, that was point number 1. We are looking at categorical values. We used color in an effective way to show those 3 categories. There is another thing that this display has. Within each category, there are different things. And so these different things are displayed in a very effective way using space. I want to keep reminding you that we are living or communicating in a 2-dimensional space, whether it is a paper that you're reading in front of you or a book. or a computer screen, we have two-dimensional space. And so we'll have to use that effectively. And so this one is effective because there is quite a lot of information in each category. The second category in particular has got lots of things. And so it is done in a way that would make the best use of it. So imagine how this would have probably looked if you were to turn it upside down. Most people, including my own students, most of the time, whenever you have a bar plot, the first thing that would come to your mind is have a standing. This is how we are used to thinking most of the time. But you can imagine when it is turned, how much more effectively you can use this space and how much easier it would be visually to convey that information in proportion to one another, for example. I have not forgotten some of the slides that are not covered in our first slide. And so there is a pie chart and stacked bars and things like that, that I said you would go on your own. I'm sure you have looked at them on your own, but I'm going to come back and point a couple things there. And so there is something that I want you to see here. Categories are there. The bar plot is displayed in a horizontal fashion. The organization is very neat. Now you can see how each category and the thing under it is. And it is ordered. It is ordered so that you can see this in a descending order. And so it becomes quicker to see. So there's so much things. 3 categories, each category in a bar plot. They are ordered. And the numbers, because the bar plots don't necessarily tell you immediately what those numbers maybe are there. So that information is actually rich. So each one of these, how tall they are, in some sense, is given with numbers. This will be an excellent summary if you're writing a paper and you've got something that you need to display. Consider this, something like this. And this is a place where I would tell you Tableau might be an effective one to do. You can do this in many ways. You can do this in Python, you can do this in R, you can do this even in Excel. Maybe it's not going to be so nice, but then you may not have a lot of control, but you can do this. But the idea and some of the things that Tableau has to offer would come in addition to this ones. But this is one example of categorical value. And then I have tried to point out as much as I can about this one, something that you might not come immediately to your mind. And so have them in mind. Okay, highlight colors. So we've gone through, sequential color, diverging color, and we've seen categorical ones. And so if you kind of go back in your mind and try to remember the outline title slide we had on this, one of them say highlight. And so we use color to highlight something. This particular one, I like it. I like it because it's trying to highlight the state I live in. And so everybody should cheer up for that one. All of these other states are there. Who cares? Washington is the one we care about. And so it's shown in blue. And it also happens, I don't know what this one is. There's $sign. And so there is something sales and so on. I don't know what is being sold. I'm sure it's probably something good. I hope it's not guns or something. But if it is a good thing and if it is going up, then that's another good thing. And so Washington is really steep. Everybody else is kind of increasing, but not that much. And there are places like Virginia that's going down. But the point here is, okay, these were all side commentaries. The point here was that there was something you wanted to highlight and use color effectively in a pleasant way. And this probably was selected, filtered from all of the states in 2014 to 2015. And we all know we've got 50 plus states. And so there is a selection that somebody has. And these are the sort of things that Tableau would make it easier for you. So if you had a data set that has got all the states and these numbers and so on, and you wanted to plot only 7 states, you can filter them and get this. And you want to highlight Washington, so you go ahead and use that color. But the major point here is when you want to highlight something, color is an effective choice doing it. Alert, okay. That was the last one. Alert is when you use powerful warm colors to draw somebody's attention, and raid and something close to raid will be a good choice for doing that. This is a good example. It looks like it is something that looks like a meter for me, something that is like, I don't know, a power meter or something in the house, and somebody has got these readings. This is also a dashboard. We'll come to dashboard designs, but look at how many things there are. So there's 3 columns and so much information in a very convenient way displayed very effectively, and you can communicate a lot of things at the same time with just one page. The point I'm making now is the use of that RAID that you see on 19 days, on 13 days. That was a long time since the last inspection, so there's something you need to worry about. Well, the other ones, you've got some more time, so you can wait. The second one has really, really close. So that's the point you are making. But see how much information is shown. There is something, a bar, like the actual versus the expected. So the expected one is here, and so you know how far away you are and things like that. That is what is displayed, and there is a nice summary of how things have been in the last 14 days in terms of trend, and that has got a nice display. But remember this one. So every time I get a chance, whenever there is a slide, every time I'm going to point something that is not just what the title says, but a few other things along the way. And that was what my goal was with this alert one. Okay, whenever you have a need for having what it could be categorical values or whatever they may be, and you've many of them, you should consider that color is going to be problematic if you use too much of it. It's effective when you have a few of them. Otherwise, you will run out of colors. And I know you've got favorites, and I'm very eager to see what they are. But if you really, really are picky and you have got all kinds of shades and so on, sometimes they would become, very soon, become indistinguishable from one another. And so when you have too much color, color is probably not effective then. You should go about some other way to show those differences. That's the point here. It is repeated, and you can see when I display, when I post these slides, you see a little bit of detail about what this is showing and how much you have to care about. But the point I want to make is already made, so I don't want to spend too much time about it. I want to talk about color deficiency. And I'm not sure if you've heard of it before. It's possible that some of us, or I don't have, but somebody may have color vision deficiency. And I want us to spend a little bit of time talking about it, understanding it, and what to do to make it friendlier. Here is a visual that you can see what people with color vision deficiency see. These are nice apples. I wish I could have one of them now, but you see what is on the left half of this is what the color when they are normal looks like. And what you see on the right is what a person with color vision deficiency sees. And for the first two apples in the middle, it's shown halfway. What you see on the left and the right apples is that same exact apple when it is seen by a person with color vision deficiency. So what is it? There are biologists, including Megan in this class. And so if I make mistakes, you can tell me. But this is roughly what I know, and there are some things written on the notes. So when we have normal vision, this is the how we respond to short waves and medium waves and long waves, wavelengths in our eyes. We've got these three cones in our vision system, and this is the place where the explanation for what people with deficiency in vision deficiency see and how they are categorized. What you see on the left is, when you have, the two cones, and you have people who are red blind and people who are green blind. And what you see on the when you see on the right is when those three cones that I described earlier are seen, and how people who are red weak or green weak are categorized. And so the point here is our vision system responds to wavelengths in different ways. And we've got two cones and three cones in our visual systems that would take care of things the way they are. And when we have deficiencies, there will be a way to understand them, but also to try to see what they would be like when they are simulated. And one thing I discovered, and I learned this one, not now when this course, but the first time I heard of it was in the context of teaching this course a few years ago. People who have vision deficiency tend to be mostly male. And approximately 8% of men have color vision deficiency. And this has got to do with our chromosomes. And so women have got X and X, and we've got X and Y. And this is related, and the ability to correctly or respond to this wavelength has got some connection with chromosomes. And because of the extra X chromosome women have, this is less. 8% is a big number. That was the first reaction I had, actually. And when you look at, for those who care, look more closely onto this one, it could be in some group of population as high as 10%. The first time I heard of that, I got very guilty, because this is a big number of people who I should be considered to be friendlier. They are not seeing what we are trying to show is what it would mean. And so it's a big number. It's not only about having your communication to be missed, but what we are missing by not having taken care of this is a large fraction of people. Okay, let me show you how this one works. And we're going to see a few slides now where what the normal view of this one is when color vision deficiency is absent, and what people with color vision deficiency see it. And so you have in the middle two, the normal one is on the top, and I'm hoping that most of you are able to see this. You see something reddish on the left half, and something is greenish in the middle bar, and something bluish and purplish towards the end. That is the normal view. And so there are some numbers in it. And what you see in the middle is two types of simulation, or how this come across when people of two types of vision deficiencies, weaker and stronger ones, see. And the third one is another category. But the middle two is the ones that are mostly serious, and so the difference between what you see on the top part, the normal one, and the one that is at the very bottom is a distortion of the colors, but the distinctions are there. The one that's even more bothersome is the ones in the middle too. And so let's start with traffic light colors. And I don't know if you have ever wondered about this one, wherever you may go in the world, really, and you see traffic lights, they are always green, yellow, and red everywhere. I've seen different variations in Europe, and some of the traffic lights, they get kind of low hanging, and they are smallish, and what I have seen in the US are bigger, but the colors are the same. And sometimes I've seen places where there's 4 of them, but 3 is common, green is go, yellow is slow down, red is stop. But red and greens are these two extremes where you have to stop and you have to go. And for these reasons, we've also become accustomed to using them in visualizations most of the time. And you will discover when we finish this one, you will discover that red and green are bad combinations for people with color deficiency because they turn out to be almost the same. What you see on the right is a simulation of this traffic light for people with, I can't say that word, deuteranopia simulation, this thing that you see on the right, right? So now the other ones, at least some of the distinctions are there, but watch out for the red and green ones. They are almost the same in this simulation. So for this reason, you would need to be careful about having to avoid this red-green combination. And computer or vision, data visualization, people have something that they call the color wheel. And this is the color wheel. This has got to do with wavelengths of these colors and how they are distributed and where they lie in the spectrum. To avoid having to have this red-green combination, which map to almost the same thing, like what you see here, the recommendation you would hear from people is to turn this wheel clockwise just once, and you can see what the colors would become when it is turned clockwise one more. So whatever red was now, you could replace it with something like red orange, and whatever green was, you replace it with something like blue. That distinction now will become friendlier to color vision deficiency people. And you can continue, and because you'll have these slides with you, you don't have to stare too much at it now, but it is very nice that physics tells us, this thing have to do with wavelengths, and the colors are put in a wheel like this, and at least we can turn this wheel around and get some good combinations. Now that I told you this red, orange, and bluish color, and if you remember how these slides were designed, and if you remember how the very cover slide, title slide I had, it was bluish and red, orange. In fact, those are the 2 colors. This is what Tableau promotes, and it is now should be obvious for you why those colors came out. So I'm going to run through a few slides now where you would see what the traffic light colors would be, or other combinations of colors would be on the left when they're normal, on the right with the simulations, and see how difficult it is to distinguish between those 2 colors. So you see on the left a normal color that has got, to most people, good distinctions between them, especially the green ones and the red ones are so obviously far away from each other. But the simulation that you see on the right, when people have color vision deficiency, is difficult to see, especially those 2, red and green, which is what I am trying to magnify here. Okay, we could turn this by having to turn them into friendlier colors, and now we have learned Now we have learned about the color wheel. We know a lot about colors. So we choose no green, red. No, no, no. We choose blue and red instead, or bluish, orangish and bluish instead. And so when you do that, now you see how the simulation is, and you see how the distinction, how friendlier it has become. Whatever it is that the original colors combinations we're trying to show now are effectively translated into this simulation, where you can see how the distinctions very clearly. That was a magnification of what used to be red and green, and in this rendering, when it is bluish and orangish, and you see the distinction between them. Okay, that was a quick one, but let me show you, and this is what the author of these slides had picked from their book, and so and they're very good examples. And so the notes that you would see when I post the PowerPoint will tell you this is about somebody did a study on some counties in Texas in some years, and it was about some diseases. And so you would see, when something is high, and so there is some alert that needs to be paid attention when maybe the disease was at a higher rate or something like that. The reddish color is used, and when things are declining and the rate is not big, and there isn't so much of occurrence of them, it's blue. So there is a diverging color. So you've got two things, and so there is this thing in the middle, and positive and negative things around it. And the color choice here is good. The distinction is there, but this person has designed it so that it is friendlier for people with color vision deficiency. And there is a number of other things that you could learn from this one in terms of being effective in using your space well, and summary of information. This is what Tableau offers, for example. Some of these things that you see on the right displayed in terms of boxes you can check and filters you can make is something available in Tableau. A few more examples. Another place where you can see something like that, and here are different countries, and there is income or some other parameters. The color choices, you can notice now how they are done. The use of diverging colors in different categories, and again the plots that I was trying to tell you before, being effective communication. So they are examples, but they teach you more than one thing at a time. When you think about color, and when you think about color vision deficiency, the first thing that should come to your mind is having to avoid the traffic light. Red and green are indistinguishable, and so you try to turn the wheel, and so use something that would show that contrast in a friendlier way. But that's not the only thing. There are also other colors that are difficult to distinguish from each other, and this is a slide that tries to show you that example. And it is so, you can see what you see on the right. The person who has to go look at this one will not be able to distinguish, but they were sufficient for these furniture, office supplies, and technology colors that were used on the normal color. For the normal vision people, can they be able to see them, even though it may be hard pressed for some of them, but the one on the right is difficult. So it's not just red and green. That's the point. And there are other colors too, is also this other point. Somebody, when I asked what their favorite color is, had a very funny answer, and I'll have to look up them. And so they've given me the code instead of telling me what the color is. And knowing those codes, when you write your Python code or your R code or something like that, you can use this as a standard decoding of how colors are represented, like the RGB colors that you would know. And so these are numbers. And so once you know them, then you could also have your own really personal shade of it in a way. And so to know about them is what I'm trying to show you in the next few slides. And so you can see those numbers and how they become and how they compare with one another. That's the point here, okay? So when it is used in a real example, here is one that is very friendly to color vision deficiency people. And you see, even for the normal one, if you ask me, actually this one is not just friendlier, but also nicer. And the usual ones that we see, red and green, are a little too much. And sometimes they are not, probably, I think it's our familiarity with them all the time and so on, that will make it less effective. That's my taste. But this is effective, not just because it has become friendlier to a person with color vision deficiency, but also for a normal vision, these are good choices of colors. That brings me to the end of the first part of the discussion, and now we are going to talk about dashboards. And we have seen dashboards many times, but I want to show you examples. Okay, I'm going to run a few examples, and we've got 5 minutes, and you're staying with me, and I know that you're very alert. And this is a lot of information. So I'm going to make a few points. Every single one of these will also give you some idea for your own things when you have to summarize so many things at the same time. So the details of this one is not important. What I want to tell you now is how to divide the space in here. We're going to divide it into four quadrants. And what you should think and what visualization people think tell you to put things on emphasis on these 4 quadrants. And you might be surprised where visualization people would tell you, or maybe you were naturally born like that and you know what to do, where the most important thing should be placed. If we had a lot of time, I would have invited a discussion here and you would have told me, but since we don't have a whole lot of time, we're going to just jump right to it. The thing that is considered the best place to put your most emphasis is north west. Oh, it's north. I never thought of it. Northwest is the best. So that is where you put your most emphasis, and southeast is the least emphasis, and these 2 other places are neutral. This is what visualizing tells you, and it kind of makes sense if you think about where our eyes would go when we look at a screen or a page or a poster or something like that. And this is how it is, and most visualization, when they are done well, would map well for such categorization. And the example we saw before here, the one that had lots of things, when that is done, you kind of see where these ones are. It doesn't have to be always perfect. There are very many other things that would determine how you would design it, but this one has got a good mapping to that one. Here is another example, CIO dashboard. So many things to learn from, because you will have this one. I'm sure it will inspire you for whatever it is that you have a need for having to do a dashboard or a poster or have a nice thing that you would include in a really, really nice paper that you publish in some good place. You can think about this. It doesn't have to be this comprehensive, but there is a need for having to summarize them. But the point I want to make now is how this one would map to those 4, and it kind of agrees with that. My favorite is this. This example is also a place I want you to go to when you have, so I have recommendations what to do for lunch. Here is my recommendation for lunch today. When you take your lunch break, go to this place called, I think it is called dataplusscience.com. And it has got some very nice people, some very nice blogs, I think, and some very good things, generally speaking. But go there, and I think this blog is run by the person who I'm not 100% sure who these slides are borrowed from, or the book is written by, this big book of dashboards. But go there, and so this is about web analytics. Actually, some place, and Tableau has packages or some facilities for doing this. If you have a nice website, and I know some of you really have some cool websites, and you want to see how much traffic there is, somebody is seeing it, and so on. So you see how many views you got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then how things have been in the last few months, and then where these people who are visiting your websites are coming from, and the visualization of it. There's lots of nice information here, good color combinations, and go there. Go to dataplus.science.com today and spend 15 minutes, half an hour while you eat your lunch, browse through, just get some ideas. Maybe you'll get some nice ideas for projects too. And so you will see an example like this. For now, let's just have these 4 quadrants and see where somebody has placed information and how they have used, and it maps quite okay to what this one has. This is another place where you would see a dashboard. And I think this is also very nice, very artistic. And this is about people who have complaints, and then somebody's dealing with tickets, and someone, if you who have worked with IT people, would know these things and where they're coming from. But it's a very nice summary, and this is a company, and so there are customers, and they're having issues and complaints, and some of them are closed, some of them are still open, and there are this many total. But look at the map, the states, and how somebody has really created a nice chemistry inspired type of things and about these states and how color is used in combination with that to show where things would lie. And then, of course, we haven't forgotten our 4 quadrants, the most emphasis, then the least emphasis, and this would do a fairly good job in that space also. I have perfectly managed my time and got through all of the slides. In some cases, I have talked a little longer than, kind of went fast. In some cases, I haven't. But I think this is what I wanted to accomplish today. And so we have finished, and it's almost about 10. And we've got a little bit of time if somebody has got any quick question for me. Someone has got questions?
Did you have some other resources and examples of this sort of graphic? Like you mentioned that the big book of dashboards. Are there other resources that you know of that
I think this is a good resource, and the place I sent you for the lunch break today is a good place. But let me use Wednesday's class not just about this one, but also to talk about data sources to see how cool visualizations could be done. Visualization is a very rich topic, and it is something I at least I am glad that we are spending a little bit of time on. But there is a lot of things that one can do, and so let me use Wednesday's class to point out a few more things. When I post the slides now on Blackboard, the PowerPoint version, I would encourage you to read the notes on the slide, the bottom portion. Some of them would take you somewhere, including the dataplus.com website I told you now. And I know there are some very creative people in the room, and I know there are some good visualization projects that would come out. And so I hope there is so many things I'm trying to cover today, but some of them should, if not anything else, should be generators for an idea. And on Wednesday, oh, before I forget, some of you have started to go. We'll be watching a little bit of a video, and I wish we could start at 9 so we have a full 1 hour, but I'm going to watch a video, and that probably will be a good answer for the question you just asked now to see about resources, I think. And so there will be some cool video we'd watch. So if you want to have breakfast early and have while we eat breakfast, I think we can start class at 9, but maybe it may not work for everybody. But maybe I'll ask about that, and I'll probably put maybe I don't know. It's probably too short a notice, but if we agree and we meet at 9, we can have breakfast together and start talking, and we can start with watching a video then. So drop me a note if that's a good idea, but I know some people just have to start at 9, 10, and it's okay. But either way, we will have a discussion. Any other questions? All right, I think I'll stop here then, and then I'll see you on Wednesday.